Sunlight bleeds across the Judean hills, turning the dust into a golden haze. Samson stands silent, his feet planted deep in the dry earth. The quiet snaps. A blur of tawny motion erupts from the scrub, closing the distance in a heartbeat. The lion lunges, jaws wide, claws extended to rend. Samson does not retreat. He lunges forward to meet the beast midair. His hands clamp onto the creature, fingers digging into the thick hide as they collide with the force of a falling boulder. The air rings with the sound of snapping sinew. Samson twists, his arms locking with impossible tension. He exerts a single fluid motion that defies the weight of the predator. With a wet, tearing crack, the lion is cast aside. Samson stands alone in the center of the clearing. He breathes evenly, his presence vibrating with a terrifying, heavy stillness. The desert wind shifts, but he does not move. He is the only thing standing on the horizon, a monument of raw, unchecked force that forces the very shadows to recoil from his path. The hills hold their breath. The atmosphere of the capital is thick, heavy with the cloying scent of burnt incense and expensive wine. Samson moves through stone corridors, his eyes tracking the flicker of orange torchlight against the walls. He finds rest in a chamber where the air feels stagnant, heavy with the weight of his own pride. He reclines, his head sinking into the pillows as he drifts into a deep, unguarded sleep. Beside him, a hand moves with calculated precision. A blade enters the frame, sliding through the air toward his scalp. The sound is dry, a rhythmic whisper as the steel shears through the hair. It falls to the floor like dead leaves, silent and final. Samson does not stir. The transition is instantaneous. The warmth of the room evaporates, replaced by the biting metallic chill of iron. He stirs, but his hands find only the coarse, freezing links of chains. He tries to rise, but the weight of the metal pulls him back down. The light is gone. The luxury of the capital dissolves into the suffocating, windowless dark of a holding cell. He is no longer the man who stood against the lion. He is tethered to the cold stone floor, listening to the drip of water in the absolute silence. The prison mill is a world of endless, grinding stone. Samson stands before the massive wheel, his palms slick with sweat and dirt. He leans forward, his chest heaving as he pushes. The stone groans, a low, tectonic sound that vibrates through his bones and into the floor. He takes one step, then another, his feet dragging in a heavy, rhythmic circle. Dust coats his throat, tasting of grit and stagnant air. Every rotation demands more than the last. He tries to find the strength that once broke lions, but his muscles only burn with fatigue. The cycle is absolute. He pushes until his skin is etched with grime and the jagged marks of his confinement. Months bleed into the dark, each day a repetition of the same crushing labor. His former arrogance, once a fire in his veins, is stripped away by the friction of the wheel. He does not speak. He does not look for a way out. He simply pushes, his movements becoming as mechanical and cold as the stone itself. The exhaustion hollows him out, leaving behind a hard, steeled core of resolve. He is no longer the man who sought glory. He is a ghost in the dark, waiting for the stone to finally shatter under the weight of his patience. The heavy gates of the Temple of Dagon swing open. Samson steps into the vast, hollow space. Thousands of faces watch from the balconies, but they remain obscured by the deep, freezing shadows of the hall. He moves with a deliberate, measured pace, his wrists raw and bleeding where the iron chains once bit into his skin. A guide leads him to the center of the floor, placing him between the two massive pillars that support the roof. He stops. He reaches out, pressing his palms into the rough, cold surface of the stone. He feels the weight of the temple pressing down from above. He closes his eyes, blocking out the sound of the jeering crowd. He draws a breath that fills his lungs, bracing his feet against the floor. Every muscle in his body tightens. He leans his entire weight against the center of the pillar. He feels the grain of the rock. He feels the immense pressure of the ceiling. He lets out a primal roar that echoes against the vaulted stone. He drives his shoulders forward with a sudden, violent surge of force. The pillars shriek. A deep, jagged cracked spider webs across the stone. The ground beneath him trembles as the architecture begins to groan under the strain of his returning strength. The stone pillars surrender. With a sound like grinding mountains, the supports buckle, sending fractures racing up toward the vaulted ceiling. Samson does not move. He stays locked against the debris as the massive structure begins its descent. The air fills with the shriek of tearing rock and the sudden heavy thunder of masonry hitting the floor. Above, the roof collapses in a blinding explosion of white light and crushing stone. The ceiling descends, a wall of gray death that swallows the hall, the crowd, and the pillars in one singular motion. Every balcony vanishes. Every shadow is crushed beneath the weight of the falling sky. Samson is lost within the roar, his form consumed by the avalanche of dust and ruin. Then, the sound dies. The thunder fades into a low, drifting hiss of settling powder. The temple is gone. In its place lies a jagged, silent mound of stone, still and indifferent under the open sky. No shouts remain. No movement stirs beneath the rubble. Only the slow, steady settling of dust marks the end. The silence is absolute, heavy with the weight of a final, unyielding choice. Everything that was once grand is now buried, leaving behind nothing but the cold, clear air of the Judean hills.